tales from the Lotus Pod for you. They're just this way at the Dim Carnival.
What's up, everybody? This is the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're talking about Tales from the Lotus Pod. This is our third installment of that delicious, delectable first Dark Lotus album. We're talking about both versions, the Mars version and the ABK version. And this week we are talking about the tracks Black Magic, right? Is that where we start?
We're starting with Gimme That Blood.
Oh, we're starting with Gimme That Blood, sometimes known as Taste of Blood, Headache, Bad Rep, and Bitch I'm Sexy. We're going to try and get through those ones. We talked about we were also going to do Swarm this week, or?
I think we're shooting for
That's
Swarm.
A little ambitious.
We'll
a little
see.
ambitious. We'll see.
see.
We'll see how far we go. So, those are what we're talking about this week. Let's see how good we do. Shall we dive right in and start talking about the first track, guys?
I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so the people at home are aware, we've already been recording for like 35 minutes. But we've just been talking about absolutely nothing. So maybe some of that's going to show up as a stinger at the end. We'll never tell, because I don't actually know. So let's start with Gimme That Blood. And if you haven't listened to it before, go ahead and take a listen right now. The music on this song is so good, guys.
It's so
Give me
great.
that blood. Give me that blood. Okay, I remember liking this song very much when I was when this album came out.
Straight for the jugular, raw dog succular.
Everyone likes the raw dog.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I don't remember from last week. I didn't listen to the ABK version of this.
Well,
so another one. Another one where Mars starts off first.
Yes.
And every time he does, it always feels a little bit off-putting to me.
Because you don't know this guy?
Right, because I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, I'm here for all these other dudes, you know?
Where does this guy get off?
He's like a little bit of seasoning on this album, you know? But I'm here for the meat and potatoes.
He's the Laurie's seasoning.
A vampire setting churches on fire.
That part's pretty cool. And then he turns and he's like does a little Fred Durst kind of delivery at the end of his verse when he says cut a throat to the bone to the beat.
The beat, my song, go.
I feel like that. I feel like his voice sounds a lot like Fred Durst there. His voice actually changes.
Probably.
I can't confirm that.
I always thought that the music sounded very different from the rest of the album. And it's like there's that really fuzzed out like sample of what I would do to taste your blood or whatever. And to me it always sounded like a video game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's because of the fuzzed outness. It's like the rise from your grave.
Yes.
Yeah. Altered Beast.
Altered Beast, a classic. When you get to the level where you have to turn into a big old horny ripped bear, and then you have to jump inside the guts of the boss at the end as a bear, because the bear's power is to turn into a spinning jumping disc like bears do. Yeah,
right,
like bears
that's cool.
do.
Well, then when you're the werewolf and you just thrust your restroom area in a big arrow across the screen.
No, that makes sense, because one, werewolves are fast, and two, werewolves fuck. So, like, why wouldn't you?
Ow! I love that when that game, when you transformed. So when I was like in 4th grade, my friend for his birthday rented out the video arcade for his birthday party, and it was all free play.
Jesus, what?
Yeah. So everything was free play, and if you wanted to play, you just stood by a machine, and a guy walked around and like hit the buttons like within the machine guts to like add a player or whatever.
Oh,
And so he would just walk by and hit it like 50 times to give you like 50 quarters worth of lives.
jeez.
And so I beat so many games that day because it was like endless quarters, right? Like
Oh, that rules.
Bad Dudes and Double Dragon, Rampage, and I got to levels like the bear level I had never gotten to before on quarters. Yeah, so rad.
God.
And when they change, I love that animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're all freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Altered Beast is a good game, guys.
Big and buff.
It's a good game about lycanthropy. Well, what's crazy about Altered Beast, and this is definitely what our podcast is about, what's crazy about Altered Beast is like you're dead to start with. So it's not just that you're a werewolf or a werebear or a dragon. It's not just that you're an altered beast,
An electric
but
dragon.
that you start as just your standard normal dead guy, and Zeus like resurrects you,
Yeah.
and then like punch shit, and then like you grab a ball, and then you get like super fucking jacked. Like you get so fucking swole with the Holy Spirit that like all your clothes tear off.
Yeah, they just rip away like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get really strong.
Yeah. That game that game's rad.
Anyway, speaking of Altered Beast, a Shadowcaster, Phantasma, and I want to take a drink of plasma. I really like the concept of this song where it's just about wanting to drink blood.
Just being really into blood, man.
And it's a little bit more focused than I'm a vampire, bite your neck and set your head on fire.
Yeah. I mean, Jay takes with his line. It's got to be one of my favorite lines of a lot of ICP songs in general. And it's I need blood like a mosquito. I'll drink the blood from a heroin needle. I just love the way he says it. Oh man, it's so gross.
I love Jay's I'll slit my wrists and neck and do a windmill. Be a blood fountain for real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously the only drawback in this song is that he says the R word.
Yeah. And it sucks because even the way he does that, like back in the day, I loved it. Not understanding how hurtful that word was, but I kind of forgot that he was going to say that when I was listening to it this time through, and then he said it, and I was just like, and I almost said it along with him because it was like coming back to me as the song was going, and then right when he gets to that part, I was like, oh, but then the way he says it's so great too. And I just like, damn it.
He really chews up that line, and it's really unfortunate. Because if you take the spirit of what he's trying to say, it's funny as shit. That's a really funny visual image.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's so offensive, and it's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys
and it's because this would be a song I would love to show someone that hasn't heard this album. Like that would be a go-to song for me. But I won't. I wouldn't because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, like everyone is pretty on point in this song.
I love every single verse. It's one of those times I think I talked, what was it last week? I mentioned like when they all kind of sometimes they stray a little bit too far for my liking and it feels a little bit disjointed or uneven. But this is one of the songs where I feel like every verse, like they're in it, like they understand the concept and it's good.
Yeah. I like Jamie's verse at the end where he's like everyone talks about how much they love blood, and like Jamie sort of like loves blood so much that he like starts like incantations and like he like resorts to like witchcraft and black magic to like bring more blood to him, and then uses that blood to like raise the dead.
Sometimes there are some things that
escalated quickly.
Right. That happened to me so many times listening to the rest of these tracks on this album. is there's some lines that where you kind of tune out or whatever, or I may have tuned out listening to them, going back and really listening to the words. I'm like, damn, there's some dark shit in here. It's great.
Steve, what can you tell us about Malachi?
Nothing. I don't know.
Cool. Sweet.
Is that Richie Tannenbaum's hawk?
That is Mordecai.
Fly, Malachi.
It's still Mordecai.
He's he's a villain that gets cancer in a Watchmen.
That's Moloch.
Malachi. No, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What I did write, so at the top of this episode, I said I don't remember listening to, because I did listen to the ABK version, but I did write a note about it that I definitely prefer the ABK version. So there you go.
Nice.
And I think that's actually a theme this week. I may have come around on Anybody Killa after listening to this album for the last 3 weeks.
Oh yeah. Well, all you have to do is listen to an album for 21 days.
If you listen to something 21 times, you'll remember it.
Listen to it for 10,000 hours, and you become an expert in this album.
One thing on here that I noticed is one time at the end or in his verse, Mar says "fuck religion," and in the back it's at the beginning of the song actually. It says "fuck religion," and someone in the back goes, "What?"
Yeah.
Do vampires really set churches on fire? I think vampires are trying to be careful around fire because it hurts them.
I imagine they would like to see a church burn down, you know?
Sure, but I think that, like, they don't like crosses and stuff, and they don't like holy water. I would think that they don't like churches, and they would like be happy to see a church burn down, but I don't think they're like going out committing like church arson like they're a black metal band in Sweden or whatever. I think that they're cool with just being like, I'm gonna be over here, seducing the innocent and the pure, and I'll let churches be over there.
Well, if you're a creep in a hearse with a thirst for the worst type of shit you ain't heard, you might be a vampire who sets churches on fire.
Vlad Foxworthy.
I feel like they mention one couple things I want to say. So I feel like they do mention in other songs too, drinking blood from heroin needles or whatever. That's like because Shaggy says tiny
I'll take
needles
blood in
with
any
chunky
form.
blood.
Oh,
Yeah,
that too.
Well, yeah, it says even scabs. That's like I think that's one of the more gross visuals.
I just like that he sit down and listen close to your Uncle Shags. They'll take blood in any form, even scabs. Like that he gathers these children around and is like, listen, I need blood. Do you have any sort of blood at all? Please.
I also thought that was interesting because in the chorus he's saying what I wouldn't do to taste your blood. Give me that blood, give me that blood. And so in Shaggy's verse, it's almost like, oh man, I'm going to help this dude out and get him some blood or else he's going to drink mine.
Yep, and I just realized I have to fix Genius to read I hang out at the emergency ward and lick wounds instead of because he says I hang out at the emergency ward to lick wounds instead of I hang out at the murder some more.
Yeah.
I just saw that. That's great. Yeah, that's very wrong. Well, they did
That
change the
blood for
name.
the ritual of the loons. Yeah.
But they did change the name of the track to Gimme Dat Blood,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
I saw that. After Jiggles commented and I upvoted it. See, this is how the Dim Carnival community works, guys. Proof in action.
Right. Gotta help each other out.
Let's do it. Mobilize, people. Get out and vote on the name of Gimme That Blood.
Guys, another thing I didn't notice is we've been talking about this for several weeks, but it actually says on the Genius website who produced which tracks.
What?
Yeah, right at the top.
No.
In big letters. And so this one, Gimme That Blood, was produced by
Sister
Cirrhosis
Sound Squad.
Yep.
Produced by the Sister Cirrhosis CNC Music Factory.
Sweat.
Things that make you go, ooh, what I wouldn't do to taste.
Good one, Bill. I liked it.
Well, because I recently made another CNC Music Factory joke because we were going out to dinner the other night, and the Cheesecake Factory in Pasadena, the neon sign is burned out, so it just says the C Factory.
Nice.
Yep. Further thoughts on this song, guys? Music's great.
Music's great.
Oh.
Yeah, probably top 5 on the album.
Yeah, like this and And We Danced might be the two best. Like this and We Danced and Alibaba. But like this and We Danced, I feel are the most like danceable, just like grooviest, funnest songs.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
They both have similar fields where it's just like real chunky and meaty with the bass.
Mm.
Shall we move on?
Let's do
I
it.
think so.
Okay. This next track is called Headache. And if you haven't listened, go ahead and take a listen right now. Now, this one doesn't say on Genius who produced it up top. So, in your face.
Well, on the one on the page I'm looking at, it does.
Well, okay.
It's
Maybe
another one by
because-
Sister Cirrhosis Sound Squad.
Okay, well, then I refreshed, and they have changed that since the last time we recorded. So, good job, Jiggles, I guess.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it
Our
wasn't there
shit.
before.
Yeah, it definitely was not.
Well,
So-
it's got to be Jiggles then.
Yeah. So people are following along with us, and Genius is getting better day by day. Yeah. So, yeah, song, guys, let's do it.
I heard this. I made sure to listen to this song earlier today, and I can't even remember how it goes now.
Oh my god, it has my favorite. This is I don't know. It's got to be my favorite line on the album.
Mhm.
I cut the head off a devil and I throw it at you. So fucking awesome. Oh my god, the first time I heard that I was like, oh shit, yes, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know, which I learned later, is apparently that is a reference or a line from an Isham song.
Mm-hmm. And that is an annotation dropped in by Jiggles. So good job.
Oh really? Nice.
Yeah, I like this has some really cool, like, this is whereas the last song is just like as a whole, like, oh, this is a lot of fun, it sounds cool, it sounds fun. This one's like got some real good like concepts and rhymes in it. Like when Monoxide is like, what was I just thinking? Maybe if I can drink it, this voice will quit and I can escape from this demon deacon. Deacon is a
Demon
cool.
Deacon's a guy that's in my notes.
The free, as you know, Steve, Luke Gallows,
Mm-hmm.
WWE,
Mm-hmm.
originally his first gimmick in WWE developmental, the freaking Deacon. That was before he was fake Kane.
Wow.
Yeah, freaking Deacon. All right, that's all.
There's a couple things. So it's got this really kind of like atmospheric production. There's all these like sounds, like ambient sounds that are kind of floating all over the place. I feel like it's it's like a smart song for
Yeah.
the album, right? And so the lyrics, each verse is a lot more packed with, I mean, there's just a lot more words in general that they're getting in, but each person's verse they've got enough room, enough space to kind of try to tell a little story or whatever, for each of their contributions to the song. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really a big fan of the chorus.
Yeah.
I like what it says, but just the way that it's done. And there's actually other songs that we'll talk about, I think, this week, that are the same. But there's one thing that they do where like they're doing the backup vocals or whatever, where like in the background everybody's like responding to the different things that people say, and I feel like that's really fun. Sometimes it's Jay, and sometimes it's other people where they're just like yup or whatever, like following up on people's lines.
Yeah.
And then there's other parts where like they're whispering back, like doubling the vocals or whatever, like saying die, like, and those are kind of create these like cool spooky moments or whatever.
Yeah. Also, another track where Jay gets naked, takes him and he's Zoloft. I bleed my nose off. Run up in a church and rip my fucking clothes off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there are, and so what do you guys feel like? Is there a cohesive thing that this is really about, or because I was feeling like most people in their verses are kind of just talking about like maybe a general psychosis um or like voices that they're hearing, some like I don't know, difficulty determining reality.
Yeah, I
But
think
then some
all of.
people,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I think the theme of this one, especially with the title of the song being "Headache," all of these verses, I think the theme is like everyone is going insane. Like all these various people are going insane, either like from just mental illness or from the work of demons, but something's driving all of these people insane. And I think it actually might be a sort of Cthulhu type of like H.P. Lovecraftian, like an unspoken horror is like driving all of these people to madness, because like there's the interlude with Jamie where he's like, "Spoken are the words in the hands of Pythona."
Cobra, la 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 la.
I was once a man.
I thought that was fucking rad, man. Python is pretty badass.
She is.
And she even has doesn't she like throw little lotus pod things, or they're like little octopus flowers?
Yeah.
As one of her weapons.
She's got all these disgusting fucking biological weapons.
Yeah.
That make people go
their
insane.
Armor, yeah, all their armor's alive on them.
Yeah, like when she breaks into the Cobra headquarters at the beginning and like definitely kills all those people.
Oh my god, that scene is so awesome, man. She just lays waste to everybody. So rad.
Yeah. And like obviously the Nemesis Enforcer, fucking like best name ever. And then Calabula sucks.
Right.
Yeah. A big snake sits in a giant ball.
Well, so one thing that I did notice is that almost everybody in every verse mentions some form of medication. Monoxide self-medicating, smoking to hopefully die. Jamie's puking from the medication. Violent J's taking Zoloft's. Blaze is popping No-Dos.
Jerry Judah has Tylenol bottles.
Tylenol. Yeah. So that was one thing, and I know that Violent J, was struggling with dependency to over-the-counter medication, and so I didn't know how much of that might have played into it.
To me, it makes sense into the theme of the whole album where they're dealing with black magic, and so in black magic, usually you're summoning some type of spirit to help you change the physical universe to your will, and so there's lots and lots of warnings about how doing this can drive you mad. And so lots of black magicians always end up becoming increasingly evil, even if their intentions didn't start off evil, because they just end up going mad from the horrors that they see and the things that they've introduced themselves to that they may not have known was going to happen. Or maybe their like protection spells didn't work. And so that's how I just interpreted this song of that. Yeah, they're all going mad. They're all trying to take their own different medications to try to stave off these headaches that are coming from the madness from dealing with the dark arts.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I like that.
I didn't think of that. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So I think like this track, I think the verses are all really cool, but I like Ryan was saying, like there's nothing really special about the hook or the chorus. So like, and as Steve alluded, it's like as far as the songs on this album go, it's pretty forgettable. Like it might be the most forgettable song on the whole album, but it's definitely far from a bad song, I feel.
Yeah, that's the thing is I wrote like I like this song. That's like my first note. I like this song. I thought it like when it first hits, I always think, oh, this sounds like a cool Twisted song. But I think ultimately what ends up happening is I think the song gets a little tiny bit boring to me. And so like I start kind of not paying attention to it's actually a pretty cool concept. of a song going mad from doing black magic, and so it's unfortunate that there wasn't something else to like keep me a little more interested in the song, because I think like lyrical wise it's actually a pretty solid song.
I think that's a totally fair take, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Have a headache.
Shaggy says 17. Shaggy does a 17 reference.
Oh yeah.
He does.
He's also the only one that mentions specifically having a headache.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was at this point in the listening when I started to be like, yeah, because I remember what Bill said. I don't remember if it was week 1 or week 2, Bill, where you said that at least on ABK's version, he's not saying like something horrible about a woman in every one of his verses, something to that effect. And I think it was by the time I got to this track where I was like, yeah, I could do without these Mars verses. And I've been listening to the ABK ones, and I'm like, these are palatable. These are great.
Yeah.
They are palatable.
I've been using that word a lot.
No, like at worst case scenario, they're palatable. Like they may not go as hard, they may not be as good as Mars's verses, but odds are good that they're probably going to be something you're more comfortable listening to around someone else.
There's another cool thing they did in the production on this album, or on this track, is there's a lot of backwards talking, and so I've been listening for that. And the section where Jamie does the spoken word part, the music plays backwards, even though his voice plays forwards. And that's like a kind of weird trick of the ear that makes it sound like you're listening to the message, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of a cool, like you don't have to play it backwards, they're doing it for you or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool.
It is cool. All right, shall we move on?
Oh, and this is there's a credit to a sample on this track, on Who Sampled, and I cannot tell where the sample comes from, but it's a Run DMC track called Raising Hell, which is really it's like a punk rock song. It's like a lot of guitar heavy. The only thing I can think of is that maybe the drum beat slowed down is what the beat is to this track, but that's the only thing I could pick up. But that was my last note.
Hell yeah. Well, let's move on to the next track then. We're going to talk about Bad Rep, my favorite Joan Jett song. So if you haven't listened to Bad Rep yet, go ahead and take a listen right now. Guys, I don't know about you, but I don't give a damn about my bad reputation. Ron Rouse. This is produced by Fritz the Cat Van Koski, which is somehow different from Sister Cirrhosis Sound Squad, which is him and Twisted, right?
Right. No Twisted on this track.
No Twisted on this track.
The song's got some great
except
music.
for the parts that they rap.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody Love Me?
No.
Oh. Well, certainly Mom and Daddy Love Me.
Guys, I had to look up the lyrics to make sure that they weren't saying the N-word in this opening chorus.
Whoa, really? All my neighbors love me?
Yes.
It clearly says neighbor.
Well, I don't know, man. I heard it and I was like, immediately went in to check the lyrics and I was like, oh, okay.
Like,
I just couldn't imagine if I heard it, if that was what they said and that I had never heard it before, didn't register or whatever.
Interesting.
So this is a song. What I wrote is that let's all group share about our issues.
Okay.
And well, that's what I think that this song is. Like each verse is each guy basically sharing with the group about the things that really make them insecure.
Or it's
Monoxide, what's eating you? Yeah. Everyone treats me like I'm the Antichrist.
Right.
They want to kill my mom for giving me the life. The life.
The life.
Here's that line: getting tats with heroin needles. So he's not drinking them, but just because you're a serial killer, twisted freak,
Yeah, I feel so. It's sort of sharing their problems, but it's also like this is like I don't understand why people treat me so poorly when I'm like the worst person.
He's such an awful person. And you know, why on earth does Shaggy have a red eye to mark the spot on his ass? What's wrong with his asshole?
Well, I mean,
should see a doctor.
I mean, like,
I'm gonna turn your brown eye blue.
Well, maybe he just got out of having his butthole bleached, so he doesn't have a brown eye.
Or maybe he's not actually talking about his butthole, and maybe he just has a really big pimple on his butt.
And maybe that's where you're supposed to put your eye.
Or maybe
so
he's
you know where you're at, where your mouth is right on the
Or
ass.
maybe he's taking a late night plane to his butt.
Mm.
Or you know what I think he's saying? He's saying kiss my ass, and you're gonna have pink eye afterwards because.
Right. Yes, that's actually what I thought. It was pink eye.
Yeah. Speaking of crackheads, I am a crackhead.
Not that I smoke crack.
But I got a crack in my head.
Is that on this track?
Yes.
Yeah.
Way to bring it back, Bill.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I wear this goofy wig now to hide the cut. Look.
Okay, so here's my point.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about things that bother them, but whenever somebody talks about the thing that bothers them the most, it's really the thing that bothers them the most about themselves, right?
Yeah.
So, Monoxide Child, he says he feels like an outcast, or that people think he's evil. Shaggy is complaining about people that are two-faced, like saying one thing to his face but talking shit about him behind his back. Jay does his like equal distribution of sex thing. Blaze is just dead. That's his thing.
I don't
He's just pissed off at everybody that's alive.
I don't care for it.
And Jamie Madrox apparently has got a little weenie, so that's what he's upset about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just them being like, I don't care what my reputation is, but it really kind of comes across as being like, you guys are just a little bit self-conscious about these things.
Yeah.
I do really like the music. I hate the phone call at the end. The message at the end of
Yeah, that sucks.
So at the end, if you didn't listen to it or whatever, so he leaves a voicemail where he's trying to get this woman to call him back, and he's like, just give me another chance, and then he starts calling her names and getting upset, but he continues to demand that she call him back.
Yeah.
And I feel like that concept of him, he's so self-deprecating and he hates everybody else. That part of Jay's personality, he does that on other tracks, and I think he does it really well. And it's one of the things that I really like about him and his character that he's always doing. It's just too bad that he chose to do it this way.
Yeah.
I do think it's a funny idea, and I'm sure that they don't think it's problematic at all, obviously.
Do you think they've ever thought anything they do is problematic?
Well, they definitely do things to shock.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I don't think they would make an argument that he's even trying to be shocking here. I think he's just trying to be funny.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Well, Bill and I, for years used to always say, "Call me back," based off this.
Oh, is that what that's from?
Uh-huh.
Is it from this?
Uh-huh.
Amazing.
But we wouldn't say the bitch part. We would just say, "Call me back."
Yeah. The thing I do like about Jamie's verse is the very last line of like they say Jamie doesn't rationalize or talk in normal ways, and in the background you can hear like the
Yeah. I'm always a fan of that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is sort of the inverse for me. This is the sort of the inverse of the previous song where it's like I think the chorus is really fun and ties it all together, and the verses I'm not really wild about. This might be my least favorite song on the album, but I don't know. We'll see when we get there.
Yeah, not one of my favorites.
Very skippable.
All right,
let's skip.
So we skip. All right, skip to Malou. Let's talk about the next track, which is "Bitch I'm Sexy." So if you haven't listened to this track yet, go ahead and take a listen right now. Guys, this track produced by Mikey Clark.
Yes, it was.
And
And you can tell.
And this track, I would say pretty much inarguably, the clearest demarcation between the ABK version and the Mars version.
Yes. Yeah, ABK version is much better.
Yeah, it is. Another very chunky music sounding song. I feel like that's like the production wise. I feel like it's, especially considering that Mikey Clark like started making this album and then left. Like I feel like the production of this song is super coherent and cohesive and like very like they just like I feel like they just nail the tone and the feel throughout to the point where like we clearly got it wrong when we thought that Mikey Clark produced like certain songs, and I feel like it all sticks together so well, and so many of the songs are like noticeably just like Dark Lotus as opposed to like Twisted or ICP, and they're all held together by this crunchy, like it's kind of similar to like the I forget what it's called, the inchworm or whatever, the Dr. Dre, the California Love sound, what I'm talking about, like that little keyboard sound that they called like something worm something. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, but the
yes.
That little keyboard like sound, they called it like groove worm or something worm because it was like a wormy little sound. But like there's like, I don't know if it's like a Moog sound or if it's like a specific like synthesizer that's just got a lot of like gain on it and crunch on it, but like everything to me sounds like very thick and meaty and like just grimy, and I think that they just stick it and are good at adhering to that throughout.
Yeah, man, you can really tell the difference. So like I didn't really know anything about Mike P, or at this point the difference between the two guys. I think I assumed that everything was Mikey Clark on this album when I originally bought it and didn't look into it further than that. But now you can really hear the different producers and their different kind of styles, and the rest of the album apart from Mikey Clark, we've said before, to me it all sounds really, really stripped down, because there's something that Mikey Clark can do with a soundscape to really fill up the space to where it just feels really, really rich. And I don't know how he does it, but these other people are kind of following and, and taking pieces of his inspiration or whatever, dealing with things that have become parts of the ICP sound, like they're sort of not, I don't want to say replicating it, because they're doing something else, and I know they're going to go on to probably do more things, but it still feels in those other tracks, it still has that ICP feel to it, with the way that the sounds are balanced or whatever, but none of them really come through as rich and as full as the Mikey Clark tracks. And this one feels to me like the most Mikey Clark track so far that we've listened to this album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would buy that. Steve, I have a 2-part question for you. One, is this a sex song?
Yeah, it's not as gross as other ones, but I mean, technically, yeah.
Well, because it's arguable. Because it could just be a song about how a guy finds himself sexy. It's not necessarily a sex song. But my second part of my question is, do you like this song?
I do like the song. I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make me feel gross inside the way other ones do. But I mean, it's a sex song. I mean, Blaze talks about sliding his dick in and out of a lady's face, then asks, "How's it taste?" And so, but it's the music.
Sweet love to the netting of a juggalette.
Yeah, and I had that in my question. Is this
Sweet
the first
love.
Juggalette? Is this the first reference to Ninja and Juggalette?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I mean, because it's funny that you asked me that, because I had a feeling you would, and I had thought about it, and so ultimately, I do like the song. And yes, it is a sex song. So I liked both sex songs that were on this album.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I had forgotten about how Shaggy's verse starts.
Uh,
Also, he refers to his dick as his willy.
Yeah.
Guys, I think that this song peaks at "Bitch, I'm sexy, take off my shirt."
Yeah.
All of my back.
Dirt.
I feel like that's one of the funniest moments. It's probably the funniest
How
moment
can
on
you
the whole
not
album.
fuck with that? That's
Yeah.
because his back's dirty, and then he put a shirt on. So I put a shirt on. All right.
So I know that we've talked a lot about their hypocrisy related to violence towards women.
Yeah.
And that one of the tenets of juggaloism is to be against domestic violence, but then it happens all the time. But I feel like this is maybe the first time where they're really explicit about saying the difference between, like, in the same verse where he's talking about killing a woman or beating her, I can't remember, he says, but show juggalettes respect.
Yeah, he'll
And
make
you don't
love
wanna
to
you don't
them.
want to tussle with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to them, I feel like it's not domestic violence because it's not their romantic partner. It's just violence because they're fake.
Mm.
You know, they're the same, even though they happen to be a woman, it's just the same as everybody else, you know, general population. Which I don't think is a great argument. Like, obviously it's problematic, but
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a little bit about how they can differentiate their morals in their music more, I guess.
Yeah.
But
That's what it feels like.
yeah, I agree. But I think this is like the first time they've ever really distinguished women fans separated out. You know what I mean? Giving them a specific name. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but
Well, didn't they say Juggalette on a different track?
I think they had said Juggalette once, but I don't think they had said Ninjet.
Not Ninja, but I feel like they said Juggalette before, and it was ambiguous as to whether it was. They must have done it because I feel like I remember this conversation
yeah, okay.
where we weren't sure, or the first time it was used, it wasn't perhaps used pejoratively, and then the second time it was clearly used as a term of like endearment. Anyways, that was my recollection.
Also, this song brought us Juffalo, which is
Yes.
pretty integral to our group.
Jenny comes back. She delivers that wonderful line. I'm definitely a Juffalo.
I have all your albums. I went and bought them yesterday, but I'm definitely a Juffalo. Now I'm saying that if you were to have sat there, so Jay gets the longest verse because he's Violent J, and he always gets the longest verse, and comes around and to saying, show Juggalette respect. You want to tussle with Down and Jet. And then he says, life ain't nothing but bitches and money, and I ain't got either one, so get the fuck on. And he says, he just keeps going, and he's like, I'm sick of this bullshit. And then he says, Ayo, Mars. And then he throws to Mars, and Mars gets super gross and misogynistic and disrespectful. In the ABK version, he says, Ayo, Mars, and then the music cuts out, and he says, you never was Lotus, and you know this, and then that's the end of the song. ABK does not get a verse on the new version because it's very clear at this point that it's meant to be, the new version of the album is meant to disrespect Mars.
Yeah, and there was some. I don't have the review in front of me, but there were some fan reviews or user reviews from this album, and that was one of the complaints was that it was like low class of them to throw that diss on there at the end rather than just remove his verse.
Low class,
I think it is
from ICP.
Right. I feel like that's like, yeah, that's a big claim to make. But I do think that it would have been totally fine if they would have just left it off. Because it doesn't really, like, in retrospect, it doesn't make any sense. You know?
Yeah, especially, I mean, after many years pass, and a lot of younger
Right.
people who started listening to ICP and run across these albums are like, what the fuck is Mars?
Right. I mean, I guess maybe in the moment he felt it was important, obviously,
Yeah.
but now nobody involved gives a shit. So, so now there's this diss on there that like neither party really cares about anymore. But whatever.
But
I guess it's like a historical.
but I'm okay with it because that means I can put on the gold version of the of this track and not have to listen to Mars's verse. So I'm cool. I'm good.
The version without Mars. I mean, I'm glad they made a version without Mars because his verse is
It's so bad.
It's fucking it's just dirt and
It's-
gross. Like
It's stupid.
Yeah.
right.
Like I mean, it's offensive and all those things, but it's just stupid though too. Like it's not creative. It's like if I was in 4th grade and I was trying to like string together all these like bad things to somebody.
Yeah. Mars starts the album holding a bag full of cut up vaginas, and then he gets to this track and he's like, "I'm gonna pee and poo on you."
Yeah. I'm gonna shit in your sink. What do you think of that?
Does he really say sink?
I don't know. That's what it says on here.
Yeah, I don't think he says. I think he says shit in your slit or something like that.
That's what I think he says too. Slit. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I'm not gonna make that edit. So
No. No, I actually think it's better that it says sink because it's.
that's disrespectful. Now that's really truly disrespectful. To shit.
That's where I
sink?
wash my dishes.
Yeah. I'm not gonna turn my garbage disposal on, and then it smells like your poop forever every time I turn on the garbage disposal. Those blades whip around, kick up that poo. No, thank you, sir.
I'm gonna pee on your boobies.
Take that outside, Mars.
Guys, so
He also has
I'm of the
testicular
opinion-
cancer.
Yeah, his balls got a lump.
His dick's got a wart. His balls got a lump. He's hurting.
Yeah, he's so disrespectful to you that he's gonna sexually transmit his testicular cancer to you. That's how Tom Green got it, I think.
Guys, so I'm of the opinion that.
Go ahead.
Wow. I'm of the opinion that a person can get teabagged anywhere, but I don't know that I've ever seen or heard about a person getting teabagged anywhere other than on their face.
Yeah, I actually have that in my notes. I was like,
Wait,
is it?
what? What are you referring to?
Shaggy
Oh.
Oh, at the beginning he says get teabagged
on your face.
on your face. Okay, but then it's quiet for like a full bar, and then he goes, "Ha." You know, he's supposed to be like, "Okay, Shags, you're gonna start this one off. Get up there and do some stuff," you know. And he just says, "Get teabagged," and he loses it. He doesn't know where to go from there. That's how it plays out in my head.
I do want to make sure to give a shout out to Bitch and the Sexiest Killer You Know, come equipped with an axe and some love handles.
Yeah.
Also,
That's
vampire out the water straight to land.
Straight to land. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always picture the vampire from Metal Gear, Metal Gear 3 probably, Metal Gear Solid
The
2.
Vampire in Metal Gear?
Yeah, there's a vampire and he like runs on the water. There's a scene where you have to like snipe him and he's like flying all over this oil barracks or something. Oil derricks.
That's crazy.
Um,
It's possible he could be using vampire as a verb. Like, I'm gonna vampire out of the water right here, which probably means turn to mist.
like a vampire.
Yeah,
does.
turn into a mist and come out of the water and go straight to the land.
So this is. I used to always a couple of things. I used to always get this track confused with Hound Dogs.
Yes, it's Ginny's in it.
They're there's a lot of things that are
Overlap.
parallel, a lot of parallels. But this song this is one of my favorite songs just for the way that the song is made, the things that we talked about at the beginning of this. The production and how rich and full it sounds. It's really fleshed out as a song. But it does one of the things in the production that is one of my favorite things on any ICP album, any ICP track ever, and they do it on Blaze's verse and Violent J's verse, and that's at the end of every beat, they throw in a weird, wacky sound effect.
Yes, I also love that very, very much.
It goes over really, really well. It's just he's like, what's that on my back? And it's like,
Dirt.
ding,
Yeah.
or whatever, like things in the background just to punctuate each line, and it sounds super fun. And it's I don't know if they plan to. I don't know what there is. If there's something special about Blaze's verse and Jay's verse, why they chose to do it on those and not the others. But I'm glad that they did it sparingly. For a long time, I didn't even really hear it. And then the first time, and for a long time, I thought it was just Violent J's because I knew it was there to listen for it. And then another time, I was like, oh shit, it's on Blaze too. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good. I noticed that. I noticed that very early on in my listen, maybe the second time I ever listened to the track, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. And it made me look for it. That was one of the things that made me look forward to listening to this track every time. I think this is a really good track, especially the ABK version, which is to say, not the ABK version.
Right.
The non-Mars version. All right, shall we move on, or is there any more to say about this track?
The Necronomicon is coming.
Ooh, Necronomicon's coming, y'all. Let's talk about Swarm.
Just for the record, the Necronomicon is a fictional book.
How dare you? All right, if you haven't listened to Swarm yet, go ahead and take a listen right now. Here's another track produced by Mike P. Guys, I think this is one of the raddest songs of the whole album. Maybe not the best, but raddest. I love the concept so much. The concept of this song is fucking Dark Lotus is here to just ruin your shit. And you're dealing with Dark Lotus, so you're dealing with the swarm. Because when they attack like a swarm. God, guys, I like this song a lot. And I don't know, you guys might hate this song. I think this song is fucking rad. And it kind of gets me psyched out of my mind.
This is the other track that I was talking about where the chorus doesn't quite do it for me. But yes, I don't want to start on a negative thing. This song is great. I love all of that stuff. I really love all of the way that they each kind of pick a line and they're sort of attacking you as the listener, right? Like you were saying. So it makes you feel like you don't know where each line comes from a different person. You don't know where to look, right? When they're each coming at you. It's a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
And they're also, it's also borne out in the shortness and the interplay of it's not quite like the track on the album where every line is somebody else or every word is somebody else or whatever, but it's everyone gets max 4 lines at a time. It's 2 lines, then this guy 2 lines, and this guy 2 lines, and this guy 4 lines, and this guy 2 lines, and this guy it's just everyone's coming at you from every angle. It is true to the concept of the song. Everyone's coming in like a swarm. Come on, blow a hole in my lung.
One thing that I felt is that it does. So there's this chorus that I mentioned, and the first thing that they say is bread and salt, and I didn't know anything about that until Game of Thrones. But that's a thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a traditional welcoming greeting thing.
Yeah, bread and salt. Yeah, so cool.
But before they get,
they should put this track in the new Game of Thrones season. I feel.
I felt at the beginning it's kind of, it's a little bit more innocent, not really innocent, but just kind of goofy. I don't know. For example, before the first chorus, Shaggy's talking about dancing around a fire naked and playing with drums and doing voodoo chants or whatever. But then right after, and probably the most violent thing that happens is Violent J getting shot in the chest or whatever. But then after the first chorus, then it's oh, now this voodoo curse is affecting you and you're gonna saw your own arm off. And innocent people are dying. There's people are ripping bodies apart and pulling organs out through orifices. It gets dark fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drip bleach in your eyes. This is some bad things.
Well, but then there's also and again, this is another moment where it feels like everyone is going as hard as they possibly can, and Violet is just just fucking around. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like everyone is just like fucking going for it, and like, yeah, Shaggy's a little goofy when he says, "Dip my hand in broken glass and pull your heart out through your butthole," but then like just in the midst of all this like craziness, uh, my eyeballs are black, my tears drip like oil. I fuck holes in my yard and grow children from soil.
Yeah.
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 That's a little
Love
weird.
it. I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I love this song, guys. I fucking love this song. It starts so good because just the mass murderer, strangler, leg splitter, mangler, blood sucking vampire, Dark Lotus, king of fire, swing off your ceiling fan and jump like an ape and stomp on your head until it pops like a grape. So good, so good.
Yeah, they did a good job of, especially like with Shaggy throwing in like the dancing around the fire and voodoo chants. It takes me to where this they talk about the Necronomicon's coming, and so the Necronomicon was first, like, it was made up and is part of fictional cosmic horror stories, what you brought up earlier with Lovecraft, and so in his universe, you've got the ancient ones, and they're just these super, super old cosmic beings that seem super evil to us because they can just wipe us out and they don't really give a shit about us. Or they use us to, like Cthulhu and different ones are kind of like in a state of, they're like asleep or they're like trapped, but they have enough mental powers to like corrupt humans' minds and make them do crazy stuff and start to do, spells that'll eventually free them from their slumber or prisons. And so part of what's in a lot of his writing with Lovecraft is he was insanely racist, and so you'll see there's a lot of things where a lot of his stories take place in New England, and you'll see like they'll talk about people of color doing all these, like they're like the first ones to be manipulated by the ancient ones, and so like and then release it onto the poor white people, kind of a thing. At least that's kind of that is like massive criticisms if you look into his work, talk about stuff like that. And so with it's just funny. Shaggy's just like, yeah, all these guys are like those people, they're the ones being manipulated by the ancient ones. And I'm sure when they like wrote all this stuff and looked to, I'm sure they probably read a lot of Lovecraft and not really knowing that he was a big racist. I mean, I read tons of his work before I realized he was a racist, and it was really disappointing. But anyways, not to poop on your parade with this song, but that's just all I can really think about when I hear this song now.
Is Lovecraft?
Yeah, just like and them with them doing it deep in the woods, naked with voodoo drums and chants and all that stuff. Like that's straight out of his books, and that's great until you realize it's I'm not accusing these guys of being racist at all. It's just putting it all together, it becomes unfortunate. Also, the course of this song, they quote, this is where he says, why can't I find the this is the law, do what thy will, and and that's Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, that's the Church of Satan.
No, not at all.
No. I thought the tenets of Satanism were do what thou wilt.
No.
This is the whole of the law.
Yeah, that's from Aleister Crowley, and that
is Aleister Crowley. Oh, I'm thinking of Anton LaVey. My bad.
Yeah. No, this was for his religion that he thought would, like, the whole world would follow at some point, called Thelema or Thelema. And it was
Thelma.
I can't remember. I think it's like Thelema. Thelema. I don't remember. But yeah, that comes from those writings and that religion, and it was used by groups like the OTO and different occult groups, but it's not satanic, and they're not satanic in terms of like worshiping an actual devil.
Right. No, but isn't the Church of Satan and Satanism, isn't that just like naturalism? Like, isn't
Yeah, but I don't know that they might use that tenet, do what thou will, as well. I can't remember. I have the Satanic Bible. I don't remember if that's in there or not. It makes sense if they do, because they're like just being hedonistic is what their thing is.
Well, but also not just hedonism, but compassion.
If you want, you don't have to. If it benefits you to be compassionate, then that's fine.
Right.
You don't have to not. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, like, you're not going to get knocked if you walk past someone literally like starving to death, and you are going to throw away a hot dog and not give it to them like that. I mean, they might think you're
away a hot dog.
Yeah, just trying to think of something super outlandish.
Right.
And
I
don't think they would necessarily like knock you for not wanting to give the hot dog to the starving person and throw it in the trash. They might, their personal opinion might be you're a dick, but like it's not really breaking rules.
Did you guys hear about last month in Illinois that the Church of Satan in Illinois was allowed to erect a statue to contribute to a series of holiday displays in the Illinois state government?
Hell yes.
Yeah. It's not the Church of Satan, though. It's the Satanic Temple.
Okay.
Or the Temple of Set, one of the two. They're like, they're different.
There's too many Satans these days.
Yeah.
In my day, there was just one Satan.
No, it's just funny. I follow the Church of Satan on Twitter, and
Temple of Satan, yeah.
I follow the Church of Satan on Twitter, and it's just the funniest thing, because all they do all day long is say, nope, that's not us. No,
right.
We don't actually believe in your fairy tale gods. Nope,
right.
We don't believe in the devil. Nope. They're like, people are like, oh, Hillary Clinton, sacrifices babies to Satan. She's a Satan worshiper. And they're like, nope.
Not our Satan.
They're like, there is no Satan. And actually Christians are the ones that, the Catholic Church are the ones that are pedophiles, not us.
Yeah.
So
they're pretty rad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I love following their account. It's hilarious. And the only reason why I knew that about the statue was because they made a big deal saying, fuck those guys. That's not the Church of Satan. It's the Temple of Set or Temple of Satan. And they're an offshoot that...
I'm sick of false Satans getting rich.
Because they actually disagree with even putting a statue of Baphomet up on public property. They're like, not only should there not be the Ten Commandments, there also shouldn't be a Baphomet.
Right.
And putting a Baphomet next to the Ten Commandments doesn't do what we think is right. The Ten Commandments should be just taken down.
Right. Well, because like a true Satanist wouldn't believe in any sort of organized religion, right? No?
I mean, they consider themselves an organized religion. I mean, I think...
this is what our podcast's about.
Yeah, I don't know like what a true Satanist would be. I mean, I would like growing up Christian. My assumption would be a true Satanist would be someone who actually literally worships the devil,
right,
and believes they're real. And then you got the Church of Satan who says like we're atheists and we just use this symbol to piss everyone off. So I don't know what a real Satan.
The only people that really believe Satan's real are like hardcore Christians.
Yeah, pretty much.
So would you guys say that you like ABK's version or Mars's version better of this track?
Sorry.
I like ABK's version better. I wish it were as well mixed as Mars's version.
Yeah.
Like Mars's opening like little bit I like better than ABK's, but only because I'm so used to how incredibly pumped it gets me. But I think on the whole, I pretty much prefer every ABK version to every Mars version.
Well, I have a treat for you guys because now you don't have to choose.
What?
On YouTube, if you look up, there's an account for a homie named Jedi Juggalo, and he manually spliced both versions together so that you get all 7 members. Is it 7? Contributing members to this song, and he kind of shuffles up the order. I can't remember exactly how all the verses go together because they are all jumping around.
Does it sound okay?
But I think, it sounds alright. There's like a few times where it's like it's not super clean, like you can definitely hear where he's cutting and pasting and sticking the tracks in, but flows together. It sounds really good, and it sounds good having both guys on the track.
Nice.
It makes the song a minute
Oh
longer.
yeah, it
Minute
does.
and a half almost.
All right. Any other Swarm thoughts, my mans?
The only other note that I had is that the sound on this song, because this one's Mike P, and it has a more of like an industrial sound to me.
I do like you definitely do notice the sound bed stuff, and like when he's like sitting on your tree branch, I hawk your every move, and it's like the crow comes in.
Yeah.
Like Mike P actually like listens to the track, like he listens to what they're saying and like tries to enhance it, make it better. That's his gift as a producer.
I could say one more thing about the Necronomicon.
Oh, please say a million more things.
There is an occult group that uses the Necronomicon. I'm not sure if I'm sure they just wrote it. I don't know who wrote it. They say it's like found pages from his name. He was an Arab magician who wrote it, supposedly.
Malenko.
Malenko. Yeah, they call him like the Mad Arab, and I can't remember what the rest of his in Lovecraft stories. But these people say that the ancient ones are actually real and were influencing not just Lovecraft but different writers, and like they're like slowly trying to make themselves known into our collective consciousness, and so they're doing it by affecting writers. And so so I have the Necronomicon, and then there's like a study guide, which has like a bunch of symbols for protection and sigils and different things. And it's a little bit smaller. And so these folks, they came out in the 70s. This book, I think the first book, the one I have, like the Necronomicon, I think came out in like 79. It was first published out of New York. These people were out of New York, and so they say that even though Lovecraft was an atheist, that he was really influenced by these dark creatures, and they do these rituals and are trying to bring forth Cthulhu to our reality. And
it all checks out.
Yeah, so I found that interesting. So I just like right away I was like, oh, Necronomicon's a fictional book. And they're the hundreds of people that are listening to our podcast that are a part of the Cthulhu cult are going to send us some pretty angry emails about that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, they should know that he could also be talking about the Necronomicon, right? For this collection of albums was meant to be, right? Do you think he means the Necronomicon from like movies or like the the Necronomicon of Dark Lotus and Freak Show or Bizarre Freak Show?
Talking about the Necronomicon from Army of Darkness, from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's all supposed to just be the same thing.
Is it?
I mean, you can't. That'd be like saying, I'm gonna give you here comes my Batman comic book, but it's not from DC and it has nothing to do with Batman.
Yeah.
You can't call something.
That is my Batman comic book.
Yeah, not with that attitude, Steve. I've got 6 Batman comic books I'm working on.
Batman's gonna enter public domain in like 15 years or something. It's gonna be pretty rad.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah, Amazo Man.
That's the one. All right. I think this song rules. I don't know how you guys feel, but I like it a lot. Anyway, further thoughts on Swarm, or shall we call it a week and move on?
I think it's a fun one to go out.
Yeah,
man.
it is.
It's a good time.
All right, guys. Thanks to everybody for listening. As always, you can hit us up on Gmail, dimcarnival@gmail.com. If you want to check out us on Twitter, mostly check us out on Instagram, obviously. Dim Carnival on Instagram. And you can follow me on Twitter at Sunday Motel. Also, WWE from Boom Studios official comic book issues number 23 and 24 out right now. I have backup 2-page stories in both of those if you want to check those out. I'm also excited because in March, the WWE WrestleMania Special #1 is coming out for 2019 from Boom Studios, and I have a 10-page story in there that I'm pretty stoked on, and I'm excited to see the art for. But yeah, that's the stuff that I'm doing. You can also check out Fox Sports and check out the interviews I did with Ronda Rousey and The New Day and Zelina Vega at the Mortal Kombat 11 launch event. There's more of those coming out in the next week or two as well. So that's the stuff I'm doing. Also, one last thing: check out the Wrestling Professionals on Twitch and on Anchor, and the Wrestle Pros on Twitter. That's my NXT after show that I was doing with my good friends. We left AfterBuzz TV, and now we're branching out on our own, and it's a little bit more general wrestling discussion week to week. So if you're interested in that, check out the Wrestling Professionals. That's all my plugs, and these guys don't have any. So until next week, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And give me that blood.
Give me that blood. Give me that blood.